The Wagner mercenary force will no longer be fighting in the war in Ukraine. That's at least for the time being, following their short-lived coup last week. To help us better understand the current situation, we had the chance to speak with Russian affairs analyst Andrei Illarionov. Illarionov is a Russian economist and senior analyst at the Center for Security Policy, who also at one time was an advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Andrei, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course. Now, Andrei, give us a sense of what's really happening in Russia right now with regard to the Wagner Group's attempted coup.
It was a so-called private affair coup, if I can use such a strange title for all these events. It was not a political coup. It was not a coup aimed at changing political regime. It was not an attempt to overthrow Mr. Putin. It was a very private matter, how to share some proceeds from the military security profits that some parts of the Putin's regime are having in their war against Ukraine. So that is why it is not a political issue. It's, if it can be used, a so-called commercial/security issue among some groups who were trying to to share some profits from this business. So that is why certainly it involves some big names, including Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff. But once again, this is not a political issue. It's not issue of strategy. It's not something that Mr. Prigozhin or Wagner Group all of a sudden decided to change sides. No, not at all. It's just internal issue of Putin's political regime.
There's another theory out there, and if you could just give us your thoughts, that this has been some type of psyop, essentially devised by Putin and Prigozhin to sort of throw everybody off while the Russians mount an attack. What are your thoughts on that theory that's been circulating?
Yes, we've heard these views and these hypotheses, but they are not confirmed by facts. We have seen Putin, and for all these days, he has been frightened. He has been frightened to death. And he not only was using helicopters and planes for attacking not only Wagner, but civilians. And some of them have been killed in the result of these, as a result of those strikes. But he called himself to Belarusian leader, Belarusian leader, Kazakh leader, Uzbek leader, Turkish leader for help. That's unbelievable case that any Russian leader would call for help for those capitals. And he himself, Putin, fled Moscow to his residence 400 kilometers northwest of Moscow to Valdai. All of these, including his body language that we have seen, all of them are signs of deep fear that he has been engulfed as a result of this attempt. So that is why I don't buy this stuff about that this is a theater. It was a very serious threat to his personal security. As for beneficiary, the main beneficiary of this coup, definitely Putin is not a beneficiary. He has demonstrated his weakness and he has been publicly humiliated. But the main beneficiary is Mr. Lukashenko, president of Belarus. Now he became a mediator between two sides of internal Russian conflict. He demonstrated himself as much more responsible or so-called much wiser person than Putin. And now he has acquired the best trained and professional part of Russian military forces at the Wagner Group. So that is why it's clearly, and Lukashenko's speech yesterday is a very clear indication of his intentions for Kremlin's throne, I would say, as to become a leader of Russia. He made several statements that are clearly indicating that he is looking very closely on a possibility to move his residence from Minsk to Moscow.
So, Andrei, lastly, in terms of people, we don't really hear much from the people of Russia. What are they thinking, the Russian people? What's their feeling over the past few, weeks and months?
We don't know yet results of sociological polls, but based on the anecdotal evidence, we can say that some part of the Russian population genuinely supported Prigozhin. But they supported him as a symbol, a sign of strength, sign of force. And they did not support Putin as a sign and symbol of weakness. It is not about ideology. It's not about politics. It's not about view about the war against Ukraine. It's about affiliation with the strongest participant in this battle.
Andrei Illarionov, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much for inviting me.